All right, let's just jump right into it. Maddie Hudak from ESPN Radio, Catherine Terrell from The Athletic. The multiple reports that say the Saints have made a trade offer to the Houston Texans for controversial quarterback Deshaun Watson. It's a lot to unpack, but just your initial thoughts when you see those reports.
Yeah, I think there's a moral argument and a strategic argument that could be made at this point, but just to kind of focus on, why it might not be the best move for a team to make in this moment, to me, when there's this much, active, still civil investigations going on, looking at how the NFL responds to what they consider violations of their personal conduct policy, looking at precedent like Ben Roethlisberger, whose 6-game suspension got shortened to 4 games, and then, other suspensions like Ezekiel Elliott having 6 games as well. It's hard for me to look at that, look at what they're asking for in terms of trade capital, multiple first-round draft picks, potentially a player, and a high-profile one at that. It's really hard for me to reconcile all of that in tandem with him not potentially being able to start, all of the implications around that. And if he is, potentially suspended, that's also something that you'd have to look at with Alvin Kamara as well. So it leaves a lot of question marks for me that I just don't think I would prefer to answer with Deshaun Watson.
Catherine?
I agree. I mean, let's start with the moral argument, as Maddie said. I think that you risk alienating a large portion of your fan base. And if they signed him or traded for him, the Saints would probably be banking on the fact that eventually most people just move on. But it sends a message that winning is the only thing that matters. Now, I get it. It's a business. But, some fans don't feel that way. So you risk alienating your fan base, the suspension element, because there's still a civil suit going on. And then, this guy, the criminal case just got concluded a few days ago. So you're already just jumping in and kind of assuming everything's going to be fine. So then you go to the argument about, well, is this the best thing for your team going forward? Sure, you're getting a quarterback in his prime, but if, say, you give up 3 first-round draft picks and a significant amount of salary cap space, the Saints already have salary cap issues that they pushed back yet another year. Now, maybe the TV contracts kick in and the salary cap's not an issue, but what if that's not the case? So then you have no way to build through the draft, and you have no way to go out and get a wide receiver, which the Saints desperately need. I don't care if Michael Thomas is coming back or not. You still need another one. So there's so many arguments to not trade for Deshaun Watson, and yet we're just going to have to see how it all plays out.
We will see how it all plays out. Moving on from Deshaun Watson, let's talk about Jameis Winston. Kat, we'll start with you. Is he the quarterback in 2022? Will he get a big deal from maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers? Will it be Teddy Bridgewater? It seems like the Saints, and really the quarterback kind of carousel right now, is all over the place, but it does somewhat indicate that maybe all roads could lead to Jameis Winston. How do you feel about Jameis Winston? Who do you think the starting quarterback is for this team this season?
Well, I think Jameis makes the most logical sense, but like you said, if the Steelers are in the mix, there could be more teams with more cap space that throw some money at him. I don't know how other teams view the, 7 games that he played. Now, I know how the Saints view it. They think he played really well. I think they think he's capable of starting again. But I think whether you have Jameis or you bring in someone like Teddy, I think you're still looking at a guy who's a bridge quarterback. I don't think that's the quarterback of the future. And yet I don't really know where you go as far as a quarterback in the draft, because this is not really a highly touted quarterback draft class. And they're so far down the draft, there's not even a given that they get one. So if they can get Jameis for a reasonable price like last year, that makes sense to me. But I think at this point, that's certainly no sure thing.
Maddie, just Jameis Winston, do you think he's the starting quarterback? Do you think he's with another team? And if he's not the guy, who is?
Yeah, I'm with Kat in that it makes the most sense for it to be Jameis Winston. And, I don't like to say the term earned a role or a shot, but, going 5-2 and then seeing how the season kind of went after that, knowing that he took, a pretty low offer initially to sit and learn behind Drew Brees, almost like you would treat a rookie quarterback. And I agree. I don't think the answer is in this year's draft class. I don't think that there's a consensus pick among who the top quarterback is. And again, when you're sitting at 18, the idea of trading up for what at this point would be an unknown wouldn't make the most sense to me. But as much as I, think that Jameis Winston has, a shot at this role, it depends on how much the Saints do offer him. And I don't think Jameis should take a lower offer multiple times to, stay with the team that isn't unable to offer him more. So I really wouldn't blame him if someone like the Steelers does make a play for him, who have, a lot of stability and not as much turnover going on right now, and not, as many just issues and question marks. So if they're able to make a higher offer, it's hard for me to say, Jameis Winston should come back to the Saints because he was here last season and won out the starting role.
Let's move on to other free agents now. And Catherine, I know you have spoken with Teron Armstead. Teron Armstead may get a mega deal. This is his last big contract. Protecting the quarterback we saw with Cincinnati and you used to cover the Bengals is at a premium right now. Cincinnati, Miami, Jacksonville could all just back up the Brinks truck to his house. And then Marcus Williams, do you think both of those guys could potentially leave? Do you think one of them's back? How do you see free agency outside of the quarterback position unfolding for the Saints?
Well, I'm probably going to eliminate Cincinnati. The way the Bengals work is they don't really offer a lot of guaranteed money. I know everyone thinks they paid Trey Hendrickson, for example, a lot of money, but if you actually go look at his contract, it's not a lot of guarantees, and I think if they wanted to, if they wanted to, they could part ways with him this year. That's just how they structure their contracts, and I think that there's going to be a team out there, possibly the Dolphins. I think I've heard the Jaguars in the mix, or at least as a potential landing spot, who have a ton of cap space and have shown that they are willing to front load contracts and guarantee a ton of money. A guy like Teron, injury history and all, you don't see those guys every day. So left tackles go for a lot of money. I think the Saints would love to have him back, but I don't think Teron, like you mentioned with Jameis, he's not going to take a discount just to stay with the team because he's a proven starter. So I could certainly see him leaving. Marcus Williams, I think it's kind of 50-50 because I think there's a lot of good safeties on the market, and his market might not be what he thinks it is. So if it's not, I think the Saints would like to have him back if it's reasonable.
Maddie, if I can follow up with you, there have been reports that the Saints could be interested in Tyrann Mathieu, a local product from St. Augustine High School in LSU, will be a free agent. Is that somebody I think would be a good fit here in New Orleans, the way he plays and what he could do for Dennis Allen's defense? Do you think that's someone that we could see maybe as a splash signing this week?
I think that would almost have to be related to them losing Marcus Williams. Otherwise, to me, it would just seem a little superfluous at the position, given what they would probably have to offer Marcus Williams. And to me, a year after franchising Marcus Williams to then, let him go and kind of start over elsewhere, I think safety is just personally a very underrated position. It's not shown on the broadcast view when you only see the explosive plays. And so I think the perception of, how important that role is can be super distorted, but I think Marcus Williams has been kind of a cornerstone of the Saints secondary really solidifying itself. And to me, kind of swapping a familiar piece that they, if I'm correct, is younger and has been with the team for someone else, it doesn't make that much sense, but I'd have to look at Tyrann Mathieu's contract specifics, because if he's a much more affordable option, then I wouldn't, be mad about that kind of being the swap.
All right, just my opinion here. I agree. I think Teron is going to get a huge deal and leave. I think Marcus Williams ends up back with the Saints on a long-term deal. Final thought here, and I'm going to put you both on the spot. My final thought is this. I don't think Jameis or Teddy are playing quarterback for the Saints, or Deshaun Watson. I think something crazy is going to happen this week. Call me crazy, because I keep thinking, oh no, something could come out of left field. Maybe the craziest thing this week with the New Orleans Saints, and maybe it's not that crazy in your mind, but something you would tell the fans, keep an eye on this, or don't be surprised if this happens.
Well, first of all, I pray for nothing crazy. I would like a quiet week. I'm pleading to the Saints to have a quiet week. The Saints have surprised us so many times. I remember the day Jarris Burt got signed, and I called my coworker, and he actually couldn't believe it. He thought I was messing with him. And I know maybe that didn't turn out the way everyone wanted it to turn out, but it was still a huge signing at the time, and $9 million at the time was a lot for a safety. But, I don't know. I don't really see the Saints making some huge splash signing this week. I just think that they've said that they're not going to be huge players in free agency, but, maybe they're trying to turn us the other way, so they go make a trade for someone big. Maybe Garoppolo. I don't know.
Maybe it would be. And before we finish,
quiet, right?
Yeah, with you, Maddie, I think that would be a splash move, considering Garoppolo has been linked to Indianapolis and maybe Pittsburgh as well. The Saints have gone with continuity this offseason. I mean, Carmichael staying, Dennis Allen promoted, keeping the bulk of the staff and the hierarchy in place. Is there anything that you would say this could surprise somebody?
Again, it's hard because I think everything can be surprising at this point. I think if it is going to be a surprising splash signing or trade, if you will, it is going to be at quarterback. I know that, as Kat brought up rightfully so, there are needs at wide receiver and everything else, but to me, it's hard to attract wide receivers, as we kind of saw a little bit with Odell Beckham Jr. last season. It's harder to attract someone in free agency when you don't have the answer under center totally solved. And before you were asking if I would see, a potential crazy thing, I was actually going to bring up Jimmy Garoppolo only because he does make sense to me. I don't, know if the Saints' answer at quarterback is going to be solved this season. I don't think it's going to be, or this upcoming season, but I think he's someone that, executes. He might throw interceptions, but he wins a lot of games, and he has the character that took him to a championship game with his team that drafted his replacement in the same year. And I think that would be a refreshing, presence in the locker room and someone that might actually be more available to them given, his shoulder surgery, likely depreciating what they would ask for him.
Last time the Saints got a guy with major
say
shoulder
it, but-
surgery, it seemed like it
That
worked
worked out okay.
Yeah, it seemed like it worked out okay. All right, Catherine Tower from The Athletic, Maddie Hudak from ESPN Radio. We appreciate your time as always. Thank you for coming by.
Thanks for having us.